All right, so I sent out an email on Friday just saying that today's meeting is going to do one of two things. Either A, give you a 10x jolt of adrenaline, or B, scare you. And really, seriously, neither one of them is a bad thing. And so by the end of this meeting, you'll know what I'm talking about. So let's get right into it. So first of all, you may have noticed that there is a camera in our conference room. That's because I truly believe, 100% believe, that CMG Tampa is the best place to work. And so I want everyone out there in the world to know how awesome we are. And so we're going to take opportunities to be able to film and to be able to post and to be able to share the great things that we're doing in CMG Tampa, because I know that the great talent that's out there in the world is going to see it and then want to come and work right here. So we're going to be filming sales meetings and other events just to be able to share that with the world. It's going to start with this one right here. All right, you know that I like to, actually let me talk a little, just real quickly, let me give credit where credit is due. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is going to come straight out of this book. This book is Be Obsessed or Be Average. That's written by Grant Cardone, and it really has changed my life. I know that it has also dramatically affected a lot of lives of the people that are in here. And so if you like reading books, this one can really be a game changer. And I highly recommend it. And I would suggest that anyone in here read it. And if you don't like reading books, then perhaps just download the audio to it and just listen to it. I like to listen to it at 1.5 speed. It actually has a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more energy to it. But great book, can change your life, all right? You know that I like to start off our meetings with a little bit of a jolt. So we'll just do this one. I promise you it'll be easy, all right? No incredible or too extensive exercise. All right, so first I'm just going to ask, raise your hand if you feel like you have achieved 100% of your fullest potential. Just raise your hand if you feel like you've maximized yourself and you've reached your fullest potential. All right, good. No hands are up. That means that at a minimum, everyone in this room believes that they still have room to grow. That everyone in this room still thinks that they can accomplish more than what they have accomplished now. So then the question then becomes, to what extent are you willing to commit to achieve your fullest potential? And I want to hear that from you. And notice I said I want to hear that from you. So whenever I ask this question, I want an audible response. And the level in which you are willing to commit to achieving your fullest potential is the level that I want to hear your response. You got me? All right, one more thing. Very diverse group right here. Very diverse a group of people. We're all unique individuals, so I want unique answers. So whether you cluck like a chicken, clap your hands, I know Dan Conley is excited about this, stomp your feet, sing, yodel, all of the above, I don't care. Just when I ask the question, I want to hear back from you at the same level that you are willing to commit to achieving your fullest potential in some kind of audible response. You with me? You understand what I'm saying? All right. Here comes the question. CMG Tampa, how committed are you to achieving your fullest potential? If you're not excited like that on a Monday morning, you need to be working right here. All right. Now, great timing, because as I was preparing for this sales meeting, I got the email that our SMART goals are coming up. So there's no question, everyone in here, I'm sure, you've already had conversations with your managers about your SMART goals. So we just need to have them all into the system, our SMART goals and our development goals. We need to have them into the system by the end of March. So it was just good timing, because what I wanted to talk to you about today was actually goals. So speaking of SMART goals, we all know what they mean, what that represents. Specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time-bound, right? So the question in the context of how we started the meeting is, in order for you to reach your fullest potential, I want to know, is a SMART goal enough to get you to where you need to be in order to achieve your fullest potential? Now, before I go any further, I want to make it very clear that I understand the value of a SMART goal. It's to be able to measure all of your activity. It's to be able to have a very measurable goal to make sure that we're all on the right track to being great employees. But today we're going to talk about something that's even beyond that. Today we're going to talk about truly fulfilling your fullest potential. And so that's much more than just being a great employee. That's much more than just obtaining a SMART goal. And here's the reason why. The A in SMART represents obtainable. And so this may be counterintuitive, but whenever people set goals, it's common, it's normal for people to set obtainable goals. You know, one of the reasons behind that is they say, if you don't obtain your goal, if you set some goal that's too high that you can't reach, then you're going to just get disinterested. You're going to not fully engage with it because you're going to think it's too big. What I want to share with you today is just the opposite of that. I think that whenever you set small goals, whenever you set obtainable goals, that is what doesn't excite you. You know, whenever you're setting goals that are within your reach, are you going to be willing to wake up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m.? Are you going to be willing to work until 10 p.m. at night? Are you going to be willing to do everything that you can, fully commit to your fullest potential just to be able to grow a little bit more? I could tell you from personal experience, no. What gets me jacked up is a big goal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So as I was doing a little bit of research about goal setting, I found this graphic. Now this graphic, you could see to the far left, it says too high is that goal. And it's only up to the guy's neck. And even that, I disagree with. That guy could leap over that thing if he had a little bit of help, if you used a device. We've all seen pole vaulters. Too low of a goal, yeah, they're right there. He could practically trip and fall over so he can accomplish that one. Then just right, you can see is right at their waist high level. This is what normal is. This is what society is telling us we should be setting as a goal to accomplish our greatest potential. This, what is that, 20, 30%? You know, we were talking about our SMART goals, and so I was explaining to Brian, my staff already knows what their SMART goals are. Obtain total budget, obtain digital budget, close 2 target accounts at a key account level, beat the market. So if the market grows at 10, 15%, you got to beat that. And then have a 40 plus share of all your top accounts. But just thinking about the first 1 and 2, our total budget and our digital budget, you know, our core budget, we increased that about 8% over prior year. Digital budget's growing about 27%. When you average the two of those together, you know, we're talking 20, 25, 30% growth year over year. Is that going to get you to your fullest potential? 20%, 30%, that's what that looks like about this. So what I'm asking everybody in the room to consider is something far greater than that. Let's take that out of our mind and not be thinking about itty-bitty goals. Grant Cardone says, you're not a mouse, baby. Let's talk about big goals, all right? Talk about big goals. Elon Musk, he says failure is an option. If things aren't failing, then you're not innovating enough. What he's saying is, if you're not setting goals big enough that you are failing, then your goals aren't big enough. He expects you to fail. That's how you know that you're on the right course. That's how you know that your dreams are big enough. You know, normal people, average people, say failure is not an option. Elon Musk disagrees with you. And who's Elon Musk? He's only the guy that revolutionized electronic cars. He founded SpaceX. Just fathom that. It's a average human being, or I shouldn't say average, but it's a human being that instead of a government going up into space, he said, I'm going to go to space. I'm going to send people to space. I'm going to build a rocket that can get us to the moon and back. I'm going to get us to Mars. He developed the Hyperloop. And if you haven't heard what that is, it's very cool. It will revolutionize transportation, but it's taking a pod that you will sit in this tube in a tunnel and blast you at same speeds of like a jet airplane, and you're underground. He wants to colonize Mars. So these are the types of goals that Elon Musk has. And his mindset is, if you're not failing, then you're not trying hard enough. So I one time, a couple weeks ago, had this screen as the opener to my sales meeting, and I didn't really elaborate on it very much, but I did say that if your dreams aren't scaring you, then they're not big enough. And I know that's a cliche. I know that I've heard that before. I'm 45 years old. I've heard it plenty of times in my life, but not until this year did I really understand the gravity of it. And so there's two things. If your goals really don't scare you, there's two things that are wrong with what you're trying to do. Either A, they're not big enough. So that's pretty simple. Just toss something out there. Make it big, make it giant. Make it something worth going after. But then two, and this is where the scary part comes in, get fully committed to achieving it. See, that's where it gets scary. Anyone can say, I want to earn $1 million, or I want to climb Mount Everest, or whatever. And that's not really going to scare you until you say to yourself, I'm really going to do it. And when you start thinking in those terms, then whenever that goal is really big, it does get scary. Trust me, it does. But that's what gets you jacked up. That's what makes you want to accomplish it. So the question is, what stops us from really coming up with big goals? And I think the answer is right here. What's holding you back is the thought that something's holding you back. That's average people, again, mentality. That's normal behavior mentality of people saying you can't climb Mount Everest. You can't earn $1 million. You can't accomplish extraordinary things because that's the way normal people think, but not Elon Musk. So we talked before about how our brains, actually the number one responsibility is self-preservation. And that whenever your brain senses hesitation, then it starts doing some effects like the spotlight effect. That's trying to prevent you from doing what you think you should be doing. We talked about how you can get out of that, but that's what holds us back. It's our own brain is telling us you can't do that. That's too big of a goal, man. You don't want to be thinking about that. You're going to get disappointed because you're going to fall short of it. That's what our brain tells us. Today, we're going to just talk about 4 levels of action, and this actually comes from Newton's third law of action. If you don't know it, that's written up there. For every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. And considering that this is a proven principle, it's something that we can all 100% believe and take to the bank. And that is, when you do great levels of action, there is a response, right? So what happens whenever we drink copious amounts of water? Of course, you spend a lot of time in line for the bathroom. I can tell you I'm already on my 6th cup of coffee. I'll drink plenty of cups of water throughout the day. I'll spend plenty of time in the restroom. That's all right. I get it. But I know that whenever I drink a lot of water, drink a lot of coffee, I also will then have, the result will be, what happens when you lift a lot of weights? What happens when you commit to, on a regular basis, lift a lot of weights? You're going to like this one. You get a nice looking body, right? It's not rocket science. You know that when you are focused on that mission, on that goal, and you do that activity, pour your effort into it, and lift a lot of weights, you're going to get a good body. It happens. You know it's going to happen. Take it to the bank. This simple one. Consume a lot of calories, what happens? You get fat. That, my friend, is the wrong type of growing. This is not the type of growing that we want. But it's cause and effect, right? You Eat a lot of calories, you gain a lot of weight. That's what happens. This is normal. Recognize that this is normal activity, that whenever people eat a lot of calories or they lift a lot of weights, drink a lot of water, this is what we're all very capable of. Now there's one more level. That's taking it almost to an obsessive level. So, that's what this picture is kind of just making fun of, but love can do some crazy things to you. I've been doing research on it and it's crazy, but it actually can make you have obsessive behavior, as you all know. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is you're very capable as human beings of being almost obsessed when you care greatly about what it is that you want. And love has a way of doing that to you, right? Excessive levels of cleaning. My ex-wife actually literally did that. When her family would come over, she would clean the floors of our kitchen with a toothbrush. That's an obsessive level of wanting to be clean. But whenever she's obsessed, whenever she really wants something, she just would focus on it and put massive amount of attention and effort into it. And the house would be clean. What I'm trying to get across to you, though, is this is natural. In nature, we see really high levels of activity. So ants around the clock, constantly building their little ant farm. There's a reason why the phrase busy as a bee. And even us as children had extreme levels of action. We were constantly busy, constantly doing what we wanted. We were motivated and we were constantly trying to just do that. And the only time that we stopped doing it was whenever our parents said, hey, settle down, quit doing that, don't be so rambunctious, and started trying to modify our behavior, right? That's what's the difference is when we have that innate feeling of high levels of activity. It's society, it's norms that try to stop us and slow us down from having that really high level of activity. That's trying to convince us that it's unusual for you to have that really high level of activity. And you'll know where I'm going with this because it's going to be associated with accomplishing your greatest potential here in a few minutes. So let's talk about 4 different types of action. The first one is no action. So that happens, for example, whenever we say, okay, we've got a new promotion, we got a new event, we got a new sponsorable feature, and in your mind you're saying, my client, they're not going to be interested in that. That's not something they're going to want. I'm not even going to pitch it to them. That's just no action, right? Then the other one is retreat. Watch this, fancy. Retreat. So that's taking it to a whole nother level. That's when you're at a networking event, you see a client, and instead of walking up to them because your brain's telling you, oh, they're not going to want to talk to you, you're going to get rejected. So then instead of just walking in that direction, you just completely go in another direction. That's not even no action. That's just completely retreating. Then you've got normal levels of action. And I will say that normal levels of action is actually the most dangerous level of action. Normal level of action is what average people do. It's what normal people do. So what does normal levels of action get you? It gets you normal levels of stuff. It gets you average stuff. Gives you average income, gives you an average car, gives you average vacation, gets you average everything because it's normal, it's average. That's what it is, right? That's how the 80-20 rule came into existence. Studied for centuries, proven 80% of wealth comes from 20% of the people because the majority of the people are acting and behaving in moderate, average, normal ways. Then you got the bottom 20%. They're the ones that are doing the no action and the retreat from action. But this is where the majority of the people are spending their time. They're the ones that are not accomplishing their greatest potential. It's these guys, these people who are doing greatest levels of action, who are dreaming big and going after and making it happen. They're the ones that are accomplishing creating new electronic cars. So the danger behind this normal level of activity is that when you're getting the average account size or the average account list or the average savings account, whenever trouble comes, you're only operating at average levels. So the market gets a little bit soft, and what happens to you is you're still operating at that normal level, and so boom, you get a big piece of attrition, and now you're below average, but you're still acting in average levels, so it's going to take you years to get back to where you were. That's not how we should be operating. We should be operating at massive levels of action, and this is where it gets turned up right here, Mel. Get excited about this one. Massive levels of action is what we were already talking about. We know it's natural. We see the bees do it. We see the ants do it. We know that when we were babies, we were doing it. It's okay to have massive levels of action. You know, some people may say that I had massive levels of action with boating, and I would say that that was true. I was above average with boating. I would be out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, anchored off of some island, tipping a few back, enjoying myself. Massive levels of action on boating. I would even go out on weeknights just to see a sunset cruise. Massive level. I had a goal that I enjoyed, I really wanted it, and I poured a lot of my time and effort and action and energy into it. So you could say I had massive levels of action for boating. Well, the trouble was, at the turn of this year, I said to myself, there's got to be more though, right? Another example of massive levels of action, 4.5 hours of watching TV. 4.5 hours of watching TV on a daily basis is the average of what normal people do. Now that's massive action, right? Whenever you're thinking about what does it take in order to accomplish something great, yet it's going to take massive levels of action, 4.5 hours in one day is massive levels of action. So just imagine, what is it that you could accomplish if you just devoted half of that time towards your goal? If you just gave about 3/4 of that time, or do like I did and I canceled my satellite, I canceled my cable, no more TV, and I want to be able to devote my time towards a bigger goal, something more worthy of my time and effort. That's the whole point, is dreaming big and coming up with a really big goal, so big that it gets you jacked up and excited and makes you want to give up your boating. Makes you want to give up television. Makes you want to be able to say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to work hard for that goal because it's amazing. It's something that gets me excited. You could feel it deep down inside, right? So I wanted to share with you real quickly some of my goals that I've set, because I'm trying to make sure that I can do a good job of translating this to you guys, and I'm working really hard to do it. But I want to put it into perspective what I'm talking about whenever we talk about big goals, right? All right, here's one of my goals. Get ready. You already saw a sneak peek. I am known throughout the world as being an inspirational leader, so the greatest talents will come and work for me. Notice I didn't say the 727. Notice I didn't say Tampa area, Florida, United States, the world. Known throughout the world as an inspirational leader, so the greatest talents will come and work for me. So that is something that is worth giving up my boat for. That is something that is really exciting. Here's another one. CMG Tampa is the #1 billing cluster in all of CMG. Now notice I didn't mention some radio competitor. Notice I didn't talk about CMG Tampa is the #1 billing cluster of all the radio clusters. I said in all of CMG, that includes the other markets that have television stations, because we all know that, you know, with digital, that's great neutralizer. We can build just as much as anybody out there. Everyone in this room has the ability to be able to have $1 million accounts, multi-million dollar accounts. And when we're all acting at 10x levels, when we all have 10x goals, this is very accomplishable. When you have really big goals, this is something that will be key, is you got to write them down every day. Now, you do that for two reasons. One, it really gets you jacked up. It gets you excited. I write my goals down twice a day. I wake up at 5 a.m., write them down. Before I go to bed, 10 p.m., I write them down. It's the first thing that I think of when I wake up. It's the last thing that I think of whenever I go to sleep. And it really energizes you. It keeps you focused on what it is that you're sacrificing for. You know, normal people only write down their goals once a year. New Year's Eve, right? Everybody writes down what their New Year's resolutions are. How pathetic is that, that if your goal is so small that you're only putting energy into writing it down one time throughout the year, no wonder by the end of January, you're already falling short of whatever your goal is. You've lost interest in it. You haven't put a lot of time and effort into it. Anything worth doing once is worth doing every day. And hell, I'd even say it's worth doing twice that day. But when you start talking about the goals like what I shared with you, that's when you get really excited and you want to write them down, and it makes you excited and it makes you want to work harder. You know, we talked about what it takes in order to achieve those goals as massive levels of action. I don't want to sit here and beat you over the head about you got to work harder and have more activity. I want you to be excited about your goals so that the activity just comes naturally. You see what I'm saying? It's a little counterintuitive. It's not hammering people about working harder. It's hammering people about trying to reach your fullest potential. That's how excited I get. All right, so in order to continue, you have to be able to put a plan to whatever your goal is, right? Everybody knows that a goal without a plan is just a wish. So this is the other key component. But this is also the other thing that feeds into whatever your goal is. So as you're writing down your goals, then you start reverse engineering them, and you say to yourself, okay, if this is what I want to accomplish, what is it going to take in order for me to accomplish that? So then you start writing down little action steps from it. Then you start getting excited about the action steps. So that, again, is how this all starts feeding in together. Then all you have to do is be able to set your to-do list, take 2 or 3 of those action steps, put them at the top of your to-do list, then you're jacked up, you're ready, you're excited to be able to do it. Whenever somebody wants to talk about football or talk about This Is Us TV show or whatever, you're like, I'm focused on these goals. I'm focused on accomplishing these tasks because that gets me to where I need to be, right? So we're talking about massive levels of action, massive levels of activity, and to be able to obtain your goals. You may ask, what is that? I can't tell you what that is. But I do know this, that however big your goals are, the levels of activity have to be able to match. And so that will take some sacrifice. You need to know that. So that's the reason why the dream has to be big. That's the reason why the goal has to be big, so that you can give up some things in order to be able to accomplish them. And I can assure you, whatever you did to get here is not going to be able to get you there. So you need to start reinventing yourself and thinking about other things. What can I do differently that can help me get to my goal? And one question I have to you is, if you were able to buy an advertising campaign on all of the network television stations, talking about you, pitching to whoever it is that you need to pitch in order to be able to obtain your goal, what would you say? If you had a 15-second, a 30-second, a 60-second, hell, if you had one of those infomercials Sunday mornings, what would you fill that infomercial with and talk about and say, this is the reason why you should be buying my product. This is the reason why you should be doing business with me. What would you say in that? Well, the great thing is, this is the new network. The amount of time exposed to these platforms is now equal to or greater than all of those networks. And guess what? This is free. That's amazing. This builds huge empires. People can utilize this, get their message out there, and it attracts attention. It attracts business, and it's all free, and you all have the ability to be able to do this right now. I just started my YouTube account that we'll be posting this video on over the weekend. Like that, few seconds, Aaron Miller 24/7, it's up. We'll be posting videos to it. You may have already seen some of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Aaron Miller 24/7. Already posted the warning about today's sales meeting. I posted that, what we wrote up on the wall. It's just that easy, and all you have to do is start hashtagging it, and that will make people find you. Money and power follows attention. Money and power follows attention. You want to make as much of attention to yourself as possible. We all know that concentration is the key to all economic success, so why not start a social media account that focuses on home services, or focuses on auto, or focuses on healthcare. You all know that those are some of the top categories that our sales portal will just be feeding you with all kinds of content. And all you have to do is then just start posting it, start hashtagging it, and to give you a little tip, all you have to do is just go into Instagram, go into Facebook, whatever, just search by hashtag and start doing home services, roofing, AC, whatever, and then you'll start seeing which hashtags have the greatest posts. Put those in your post, and the magic then starts happening. I started doing this not too long ago, and remarkably, business owners started contacting me. They started following me. All I had to do then is just follow them back, send them a message, and boom, just like that, I'm actually talking to business owners. It was the easiest call ever that I had to make. I told you how much I'm excited about Grant Cardone. The guy is a multi-millionaire. I started following him. I started sending him messages, and before long, not only am I talking to him, I'm talking to some of his sales guys. And that's the connection that we can have with business owners and people who years ago we thought would be way out of our reach, but they're all in our grasp. So this is just one small example of what you can do. And I want to wrap up things today with just this. So we talked about setting big goals, and I shared with you a couple of mine. So I'm hoping that everybody in here can come up with at least one really big goal. And I want you to either write it down on your piece of paper or in your electronic device. Just think of one really big goal, but I want it to be really big. I want it to be not normal, not average. Try to compare it to the level of what you saw with me, or hell, get bigger, better than what I wrote up there. I can assure you, I literally have 2 pages worth of goals that I write down every day, twice a day. So I just shared with you a few of them. I've got a ton of them. And I've got goals for people that are in here right now. So write down your goal, and then second, write down the commitment that you're willing to do in order to be able to accomplish whatever that goal is. So write down a big dream goal, and then write down your level of commitment, some type of action step that you're willing to take in order to be able to accomplish what that goal is. Some kind of sacrifice, some kind of action. And then if you email them to me, I'm going to pick one of them, the most audacious goal that I get, the biggest level of commitment to obtaining it, and I'm going to give you this book. The Grant Cardone Be Obsessed or Be Average book. So we'll just wrap it up with this. I said that today's sales meeting will either give you a 10x jolt or it'll scare you. I really hope it did both. I hope that it inspired you to come up with a really big goal and commit to that to the point where it does scare you. And when you feel that, you're going to be addicted to it. Right? So if that happened today and just a few of us wrote a big goal and then committed to doing it, then I know that me giving up my boat this weekend and working all weekend on this presentation was well worth it, because I know it'll help me achieve my goal, which is making us the #1 cluster in all of CMG.